morning, YouTube, and happy Easter. Great to be with everyone today on this sacred day when Jesus rose from the cave, which is more symbolic than we have any comprehension of. And on Friday, Michael Seegers and I hosted a call about what the ascension process is. And so I'll be getting that uploaded onto YouTube today after this service. And instead of doing the normal handstands that I do before the service usually, this morning, I'm going to say that the dryer quit and it blew a fuse, and I figured it out about 10 minutes before I was due to be on here with you live. And because I was solutioning a problem, I didn't have a chance to actually get going fast enough to come down and do my handstands and get a song going. But I am excited to say that the Mad Hatter's Mystic Music Album 22 project, the deadline was on Friday. We got more than 22 submissions for the songs. And so on Tuesday at 3:30 Eastern, we will be gathering to go over the songs and talk about the next steps for the artists who submitted their work and look forward to being able to share that with the world. We will be choosing the songs that are on the compilation album together because we have been gathering over the last few months to be able to put this together, which is super exciting. And so that is yet another project that is coming into fruition. I will say as well that we are on week 9 this week with the Artist's Way. And we're talking about compassion today, which aligned perfectly as it always does when you act based on what calls on your heart. So when sometimes things don't make sense and yet we feel nudged to do it, it's a great opportunity to trust ourselves more. And that's really something that right now everyone is really being tasked with, right now more than ever. I'm taking a drink because sometimes that space and that grace to be able to just be calm and to call ourselves present is really important. And that's very much part of what allows us to trust ourselves. It's important for us to be able to know how to call ourselves back present and then to also connect ourselves with opportunities that calm our nervous system. People who are able to speak to our hearts and to help us trust ourselves in a way that maybe we've struggled to do previously, because it's not easy in a world where we're taught to look to others for the answers, the ones that have the certificate or the degree, or the ones that know how to do it because they wrote a book or somehow demonstrated their expertise. And I would really love this morning to just really encourage you to understand that just because someone has the extras or the things that qualify their good enoughness, it doesn't mean that if you don't have those things that you are not also good enough. It just means that there is a different qualifying process that people accept and that people trust, and socially we've been taught to trust. And there is a big transformation happening, a big shift. And so if this is speaking to you in any way, I really hope that it's just calling you back to understand that you are the one you've been waiting for. You have answers within you that could give you everything that you need if only you are willing to go within. So we're going to breathe ourselves into this moment, and we're going to kick off with the chapter on compassion. And I hope you will choose to stick with me today and know that regardless of whether you are going to be seeing family or loved ones today, or whether you are having challenged relationships, or you are adhering to the fear mongering of the politicians who have sold us out, from my perspective, then whatever it is for you that you're doing today, be graceful with yourself and understand that we're all in the process of becoming who we came here to be. And sometimes it takes taking a few steps back in order to be able to launch forward fully as who and whose we truly are. So, on that note, 5 minutes into the call, we're going to get started with week 9, recovering a sense of compassion. This week finds us facing the internal blocks to creativity. It may be tempting to abandon ship at this point. Don't. We will explore and acknowledge the emotional difficulties that beset us in the past as we made creative efforts. We will undertake healing the shame of past failures. We will gain in compassion as we reparent the frightened artist child who yearns for creative accomplishment. We will learn tools to dismantle emotional blocks and support renewed risk. Fear. One of the most important tasks in artistic recovery is learning to call things and ourselves by the right names. Most of us have spent years using the wrong names for our behaviors. We have wanted to create and we have been unable to create, and we have called that inability laziness. This is not merely inaccurate, it is cruel. Accuracy and compassion serve us far better. Blocked artists are not lazy. They're blocked. Being blocked and being lazy are two different things. The blocked artist typically expends a great deal of energy, just not visibly. The blocked artist spends energy on self-hatred, on regret, on grief, and on jealousy. The blocked artist spends energy on self-doubt. The blocked artist, and understand by artist, we are all artists, for we are painting the canvas of our lives. And so whether you create through any kind of artistic means, or whether you are living your life in a corporate setting or anything in between, you're an artist because you're a creator. And we've all come here to be the conscious co-creators of the reality that we are now experiencing the transition between what was and what's becoming. And we get to choose what's becoming if we are willing to realize we are the artists that are painting that future, not just for ourselves, for the 7 generations that come after us that will be impacted by the choices that we make now, which is actually how Native American culture makes choices as to the sustainability of things. Can 7 generations from now still benefit from the choices made now? And that's something we as a culture, which is the culture you are not doing as we go through the throes of this satanic attempt at overtaking us all. And yet it is to go back to the fact we have been taught we are not as powerful as we are, and we are. So I just remind you, if you're not an artist or don't consider yourself such, if you're a human being, you are by default, because you are a co-creator of the reality you're experiencing and then that we are sharing together also. The blocked artist does not know how to begin with baby steps. Instead, the blocked artist thinks in terms of great, big, scary, impossible tasks. A novel, a feature film, a one-person show, an opera. When these large tasks are not accomplished or even begun, the blocked artist calls that laziness. Do not call the inability to start laziness. Call it fear. Fear is the true name for what ails the blocked artist. It may be fear of failure or fear of success. Most frequently, it is fear of abandonment. This fear has roots in childhood reality. Most blocked artists tried to become artists against either their parents' good wishes or their parents' good judgment. For a youngster, this is quite a conflict. To go squarely against your parents' values means you'd better know what you're doing. You'd better not just be an artist. You better be a great artist if you're going to hurt your parents so much. Parents do act hurt when children rebel, and declaring oneself an artist is usually viewed by parents as an act of rebellion. Unfortunately, the view of an artist's life as an adolescent rebellion often lingers, making any act of art entail the risk of separation and the loss of loved ones. Because artists still yearn for their creative goals, they then feel guilty. This guilt demands that they take This guilt demands that they set a goal for themselves right off the bat, that they must be great artists in order to justify this rebellion. The need to be a great artist makes it hard to be an artist. The need to produce a great work of art makes it hard to produce any art at all. Finding it hard to begin a project does not mean you will never be able to do it. It means you will need help from your higher power, from supportive friends, and from yourself. First of all, you must give yourself permission to begin small and go in baby steps. These steps must be rewarded. Setting impossible goals creates enormous fear, which creates procrastination, which we wrongly call laziness. Do not call procrastination laziness. Call it fear. Fear is what blocks an artist. The fear of not being good enough, the fear of not finishing, the fear of failure and of success, the fear of beginning at all. There is only one cure for fear. That cure is love. Use love for your artist to cure its fear. Stop yelling at yourself. Be nice. Call fear by its right name. Enthusiasm. It must take so much discipline to be an artist, we are often told by well-meaning people who are not artists but wish they were. What a temptation. What a seduction. They're inviting us to preen before an admiring audience, to act out the image that is so heroic and Spartan and false. As artists, grounding our self-image in military discipline is dangerous. In the short term, discipline may work, but it will work only for a while. By its very nature, discipline is rooted in self-admiration. Think of discipline as a battery, useful but short-lived. We admire ourselves for being so wonderful. The discipline itself, not the creative outflow, becomes the point. That part of us that creates best is not a driven, disciplined automaton, functioning from willpower with a booster of pride to back it up. This is operating out of self-will. You know the image. Rising at dawn with military precision, saluting the desk, the easel, the drawing board. Over an extended period of time, being an artist requires enthusiasm more than discipline. Enthusiasm is not an emotional state. It is a spiritual commitment, a loving surrender to our creative process, a loving recognition of all the creativity around us. Enthusiasm, from the Greek, filled with God, is an ongoing energy supply tapped into the flow of life itself. Enthusiasm is grounded in play, not work. Far from being a brain-numbed soldier, our artist is actually our child within, our inner playmate. As with all playmates, it is joy, not duty, that makes for a lasting bond. True, our artist may rise at dawn to greet the typewriter or easel in the morning stillness, but this event has more to do with a child's love of secret adventure than of ironclad discipline. What other people may view as discipline is actually a play date that we make with our artist child. I'll meet you at 6 a.m. and we'll goof around with that script, painting, sculpture. Our artist child can best be enticed to work by treating work as play. Paint is great gooey stuff. 60 sharpened pencils are fun. Many writers eschew a computer for the comforting, companionable clatter, for a solid typewriter that trots along like a pony. In order to work well, many artists find that their work spaces are best dealt with as play spaces. Dinosaur murals, toys with the 5 and dime, tiny miniature Christmas lights, papier-mâché monsters, hanging crystals, a sprig of flowers, a fish tank. As attractive as the idea of a pristine cell, monastic in its severity, is to our romanticized notion of being a real artist, the workable truth may be somewhat messier than that. Most little kids would be bored silly in a stark, barren room. Our artist child is no exception. Remember that art is process. The process is supposed to be fun. For our purposes, the journey is always the only arrival, may be interpreted to mean that our creative work is actually our creativity itself at play in the field of time. Let me read that again. Remember that art is process. The process is supposed to be fun. For our purposes, the journey is always the only arrival, may be interpreted to mean that our creative work is actually our creativity itself at play in the field of time. At the heart of this play is the mystery of joy. Creative U-turns. Recovering from artist's block, like recovering from any major illness or injury, requires a commitment to health. At some point, we must make an active choice to relinquish the joys and privileges accorded to the emotional invalid. The productive artist is quite often a happy person. This can be very threatening as a self concept to those who are used to getting their needs met by being unhappy. I'd love to see, but you see, I have these crippling fears can get us a lot of attention. We get more sympathy as crippled artists than as functional ones. Those of us addicted to sympathy in the place of creativity can become increasingly threatened as we become increasingly functional. Many recovering artists become so threatened as they make U-turns and sabotage themselves. Many recovering artists become so threatened that they make U-turns and sabotage themselves. We usually commit creative harakiri, either on the eve of or in the wake of a first creative victory. The glare of success, a poem, an acting job, a song, a short story, a film, or any success can send the recovering artist scurrying back into the cave of self-defeat. We're more comfortable being a victim of artist's block than risking having to consistently be productive and healthy. An artistic U-turn arrives on a sudden wave of indifference. We greet our newly minted product or our delightful process with, what does it matter anyway? It's just a start. Everybody else is so much further ahead. Yes, and they will stay that way if we stop working. The point is, we have traveled light years from where we were when we were blocked. We are now on the road, and the road is scary. We begin to be distracted by roadside distractions or detoured by the bumps. A screenwriter has an agent interested in repping a script with just a few changes. He doesn't make the changes. A performance artist is offered a space to use for workshopping his new material. He does it once, doesn't like his mixed reception, indicating more work is needed, then stops working on new material at all. An actor is told to get his headshots together and check back in with a prestigious agent. He doesn't get his headshots, doesn't check back in. An actress producer with a solid script is offered a studio deal to further develop her project. She finds fault with the deal and then shelves the project entirely. A painter is invited into a group show, his first, but picks a fight with the gallery owner. A poet reads some poems to very good public reception at a neighborhood open mic. Instead of continuing at this level and gaining strength, the poet enters a slam, a sort of boxing match for poets judged by non-poets, loses and stops reading publicly altogether. A lyricist hooks up with a new composer and they literally make beautiful music together. They demo 3 songs which get enthusiastic response and then stop working together. A fledgling photographer is greatly encouraged by her teacher's interest in a work. She botches developing 1 roll of film and then quits the class, claiming it was boring. In dealing with our creative U-turns, we must first of all extend ourselves some sympathy. Creativity is scary, and in all careers there are U-turns. Sometimes these U-turns are best viewed as recycling times. We come up to a creative jump, run out from it like a skittish horse, then circle the field a few times before trying the fence again. Typically, when we take a creative U-turn, we are doubly shamed, first by our fear and second by our reaction to it. Again, let me say, it helps to remember that all careers have them. For 2 years in my mid-30s, I wrote arts coverage for the Chicago Tribune. In this capacity, I talked to Akira Kurosawa, Kevin Kline, Julie Andrews, Jane Fonda, Blake Edwards, Sidney Pollack, Sissy Spacek, Sigourney Weaver, Martin Ritt, Gregory Hines, and 50-odd more. I talked to most of them about discouragement, which meant talking to them about U-turns. As much as talent, the capacity to avoid or recoup from creative U-turns distinguished their careers. A successful creative career is always built on successful creative failures. The trick is to survive them. It helps to remember that even our most illustrious artists have taken creative U-turns in their time. Blake Edwards has directed some of the funniest and most successful comedies of the past 3 decades. Nonetheless, he spent 7 years in self-imposed exile in Switzerland because a script that he felt was his best was taken away from him in pre-production, when his take on the material differed from that of the star the studio had acquired to enhance it. Fired from his own project, Edwards sat on the sidelines watching as his beloved film was made by others and botched badly. Like a wounded panther, Edwards retired to the Alps to nurse his wounds. He wound up back directing 7 long years later, when he concluded that creativity, not time, would best heal his creative wounds. Sticking to this philosophy, he has been aggressively productive ever since. Talking about time out to me, he was rueful and pained about the time it cost him. Have compassion. Creative U-turns are always born from fear of success or fear of failure. It doesn't really matter which. The net result is the same. To recover from a creative U-turn or a pattern involving many creative U-turns, we must first admit that it exists. Yes, I did react negatively to fear and pain. Yes, I do need help. Think of your talent as a young and skittish horse that you are bringing along. This horse is very talented, but it is also young, nervous, and inexperienced. It will make mistakes, be frightened by obstacles it hasn't seen before. It may even bolt, try to throw you off, feign lameness. Your job as the creative jockey is to keep your horse moving forward and to coax it into finishing the course. First of all, take a look at what jumps make your horse so skittish. You may find that certain obstacles are far more scary than others. An agent jump may frighten you more than a workshop jump. A review jump may be okay, while a rewrite jump scares your talent to death. Remember that in a horse race, there are other horses in the field. One trick a seasoned jockey uses is to place a green horse in the slipstream of an older, steadier, and more seasoned horse. You can do this too. What do I know? Who do I know who has an agent? Then ask them how they got one. Who do I know who has done a successful rewrite? Ask them how to do one. Do I know anyone who has survived a savage review? Ask them what they did to heal themselves. Once we admit the need for help, the help arrives. The ego always wants to claim self-sufficiency. It would rather pose as a creative loner than ask for help. Ask anyway. Bob was a promising young director when he made his first documentary. It was a short, very powerful film about his father, a factory worker. When he had a rough cut together, Bob showed it to a teacher, a once gifted filmmaker who was blocked himself. The teacher savaged it. Bob abandoned the film. He stuck the film in some boxes, stuck the boxes in his basement, and forgot about them until the basement flooded. Oh well, just as well, he told himself then, assuming the film was ruined. I met Bob a half-decade later. Sometime after we became friends, he told me the story of his film. I had a suspicion that it was good. It's lost, he told me. Even the lab lost the footage I gave them. Talking about the film, Bob broke down and through. He began to mourn his abandoned dream. A week later, Bob got a call from the lab. It's incredible. They found the footage, he related. I was not too surprised. I believe the creator keeps an eye on artists and was protecting that film. With the encouragement of his screenwriter girlfriend, now his wife, Bob finished his film. They have gone on to make a second innovative documentary together. Faced with a creative U-turn, ask yourself, who can I ask for help about this U-turn? Then start asking. And boy, did I wish I'd read that 2 years ago when I almost gave up on myself and my dream to write the book that you haven't seen yet. I finished 3 versions of and deemed each of those not enough, and yet they may have been, and yet the one you will see one day will be worth the wait, and yet I needed to be more compassionate to myself, which is why we do these services. Just to remind you, you're wonderful, and you have everything you need to be able to get yourself over the blocks that have kept you holding back until now. Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Anais Nin. Man is not free to refuse to do the thing which gives him more pleasure than any other conceivable action. Stendhal. Art evokes the mystery without which the world would not exist. René Francois Ghislain, Margaret. I don't mean a thing. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Duke Ellington and Irving Mills. Blasting through blocks. In order to work freely on a project, an artist must be at least functionally free of resentment, anger, and resistance, fear. What do we mean by that? We mean that any buried barriers must be aired before the work can proceed. The same holds true for any buried payoffs to not working. Blocks are seldom mysterious. They are instead recognizable artistic defenses against what is perceived, rightly or wrongly, as a hostile environment. Remember, your artist is a creative child. It sulks, throws tantrums, holds grudges, harbors irrational fears. Like most children, it is afraid of the dark, the boogeyman, and any adventure that isn't safely scary. As your artist's parent and guardian, its big brother, warrior, and champion, it falls to you to convince your artist it is safe to come out and work, play. Beginning any new project, it's a good idea to ask your artist a few simple questions. These questions will help remove common bugaboos, standing between your artist and the work. These same questions, asked when work grows difficult or bogs down, usually act to clear the obstructed flow. 1. List any resentments, anger you have in connection with this project. It does not matter how petty, picky, or irrational these resentments may appear to your adult self. To your artist child, they are real big deals, grudges. Some examples: I resent being the second artist asked, not the first. I am too the best. I resent this editor. She just nitpicks. She never says anything nice. I resent doing work for this idiot. He never pays me on time. 2. Ask your artist to list any and all fears about the projected piece of work and or anyone connected to it. Again, these fears can be as dumb as any 2-year-olds. It does not matter that they are groundless to your adult size. What matters is that they are big, scary monsters to your artist. Some examples: I am afraid the work will be rotten and I won't know it. I'm afraid the work will be good and they won't know it. I'm afraid all my ideas are hackneyed and outdated. I'm afraid my ideas are ahead of their time. I'm afraid I'll starve. I'm afraid I'll never finish. I'm afraid I'll never start. I'm afraid I'll be embarrassed. I'm already embarrassed. The list goes on. 3. Ask yourself if that is all. Have you left out any itsy fear? Have you suppressed any stupid anger? Get it out on the page. 4. Ask yourself what you stand to gain by not doing this piece of work. Some examples: if I don't write the piece, no one can hate it. If I don't write the piece, my jerk editor will worry. If I don't paint, sculpt, act, sing, dance, I can criticize others, knowing I could do it better. Music is your own experience, your thoughts, your wisdom. If you don't live it out, it won't come out your horn. Charlie Parker. 5. Make your deal. The deal is, okay, creative force, you take care of the quality. I'll take care of the quantity. Sign your deal and post it. A word of warning: this is a very powerful exercise. It can do fatal damage to a creative block. Tasks. We're nearing the end already, so it's been a short session today, and yet hopefully this has spoke to the part of you that has not been able to get out of your way. And I say that because in truth, in the first section of this reading this morning, tears wanted to come, and yet it's not the space right now in here, because there is a mourning process. When we let that child within stay in the corner because we judged them so harshly, and there is the emotions that will come out because they have been willing to store all of that for us for so long. And the longer you've been an artist or an artist attempting to get out your work, the more that they have been willing to hold for you. And imagine a little 2, 3, 4-year-old holding all the baggage that you have stored away, tried to suppress, compress, depress, pretend don't exist. Think about that little part of you having to hold all of that and how scary that would be. And then let us say that we can work through that together and we can do a little process after. We'll read the tasks first. Be really whole, and all things will come to you. Lao Tzu. Learning is movement from moment to moment. J. Krishnamurti. Tasks. 1. Read your morning pages. This process is best undertaken with 2 colored markers, one to highlight insights and another to highlight actions needed. Do not judge your pages or yourself. This is very important. Yes, they will be boring. Yes, they may be painful. Consider them a map. Take them as information, not as indictment. Take stock. Who have you consistently been complaining about? What have you procrastinated on? What blessedly have you allowed yourself to change or accept? Take heart. Many of us notice an alarming tendency toward black and white thinking. He's terrible. He's wonderful. I love him. I hate him. It's a great job. It's a terrible job, and so forth. Don't be thrown by this. Acknowledge. The pages have allowed us to vent without self-destruction, to plan without interference, to complain without an audience, to dream without restriction, to know our own minds. Give yourself credit for undertaking them. Give them credit for the changes and growth they have fostered. 2. Visualizing. You have already done work with naming your goal and identifying true north. The following exercise asks you to fully imagine having your goal accomplished. Please spend enough time to fill in the juicy details that would really make the experience wonderful for you. Name your goal. I am. In the present tense, describe yourself doing it at the height of your powers. This is your real scene. Read this aloud to yourself. Post this above your work area. Read this aloud daily. For the next week, collect actual pictures of yourself and combine them with magazine images to collage your ideal scene described above. Remember, seeing is believing, and the added visual cue of your real self in your ideal scene can make it far more real. 3. Priorities. List for yourself your creative goals for the year. List for yourself your creative goals for the month. List for yourself your creative goals for the week. 4. Creative U-turns. All of us have taken creative U-turns. Name one of yours. Name 3 more. Name the one that just kills you. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for all failures of nerve, timing, and initiative. Devise a personalized list of affirmations to help you do better in the future. Very gently, very gently. Consider whether any aborted, abandoned, savaged, or sabotaged brain children can be rescued. Remember, you are not alone. All of us have taken creative U-turns. Choose one creative U-turn. Retrieve it. Mend it. Do not take a creative U-turn now. Instead, notice your resistance. Morning pages seeming difficult, stupid, pointless, too obvious. Do them anyway. What creative dreams are lurching toward possibility? Admit that they frighten you. Choose an artist totem. It might be a doll, a stuffed animal, a carved figurine, or a wind-up toy. The point is to choose something you immediately feel a protective fondness toward. Give your totem a place to honor, and then honor it by not beating up your artist child. Check-in. 1. How many days this week did you do your morning pages? Regarding your U-turns, have you allowed yourself a shift toward compassion, at least on the page? 2. Did you do your artist date this week? Have you kept the emphasis on fun? What did you do? How did it feel? 3. Did you experience any synchronicity this week? What was it? 4. Were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them. We learn to do something by doing it. There is no other way. John Holt, educator. And that is the chapter on compassion today. So I hope that it was useful to you and look forward to sharing next week with you, which will be a longer chapter on recovering a sense of self-protection. And what I would love to do, as I promised in the message I send to those subscribed to the emails I send to my list, which you can sign up for at ljeh.ca, is a little card pull. And so we'll just do 3 cards for the week ahead. And we're going to choose the jumpers, which are the ones that just jump out of the deck. And we're going to, or if I just have become too good of a shuffler, or that's not what's meant to be, we're going to just choose behind a mask intention, understanding that behind the mask is of who we think we need to be is who we truly are. So there may be things that are hidden from us. There we go. Hidden motivations as well. So there are hidden factors in and about and around you right now. Both of those are intentions, which is an interesting connection. And then you've got transformation as the cycle, which is what will happen when we are actually willing. Oh, I was trying to make it so we didn't cover Jesus, but he's okay with that. Transformation, the bridge, and the cycle. With loving man, the loving man at the foundation. So I'll read to you what it means with the hidden motivations. And I hope that this has been of use for you today, because certainly I wish that I had known about what was read about today with the creative U-turns, because when I finished the 3rd manuscript that I deemed not good enough and put it into the bin with everything else that's sitting on my desk as a mess that is overwhelming and just distracting and needs to be dealt with now. But when I was in the throes of it and it didn't seem possible, that was when I took a creative U-turn that almost took me out. And I don't know whether you've been there, but today's message was incredibly poignant for the part of me that wishes I had heard that message back then, and yet I didn't, because it wasn't for me to learn about it without having to go through the journey, because as the last thing we read is, you only learn through the journey of going through that which you are working towards. So hidden motivations is about conflicting intentions. A smiling woman stands with her hands held over her heart center. Below is an image of children playing in front of a beautiful home, a vision of her deepest desires. Yet something is hidden behind the heavy drapes around her. On a purely practical level, this could indicate an important decision or situation that you don't have all the information for. Be patient. The knowledge will come, and you will be able to act. However, this card can hold a more deeply personal meaning too. Like this woman, you have some high ideals and lofty goals in mind, yet there are hidden thoughts and issues that are behind the image you present to the world, which was mentioned in, do you have any anger or resentment? Do you have things that maybe are under the surface that haven't yet been acknowledged, that need to be acknowledged in order for the baby to come forward without going through the birth canal that is full of acid, resentment, rage, anger, all of the toxic emotions? This card is telling you to look within for any unknown motivations that may be influencing your energy and your plans. Perhaps you're looking for love, yet because of past hurts, you shut down to protect yourself. You may want more money, yet you doubt yourself and expect to fail, or even think you don't deserve abundance. Know that your conflicting intentions, even if they are well hidden, are a powerful force in the manifestation of your dreams. The pull of emotional history rides with those intentions, making them even stronger than the desires you have in mind. It's time to clear out those conflicting, limiting thoughts. This card reminds you the universe is abundant, and you are deserving and capable of making your dreams come true. Your affirmation is, I let go of doubt and limitation. I have the power to achieve all that I desire. If you want to say it with me, I let go of doubt and limitation. I have the power to achieve all that I desire. Behind a Mask was the first card we pulled, which is about choosing self-acceptance, very befitting for a day about self-compassion. A woman wears an elegant mask that covers the top half of her face. It hides her identity beautifully. Even her friends won't be able to recognize her. This card reveals an important conflict in your intentions. You have times when your view of yourself is so depleted, you believe you must hide who you are and pretend to be someone you're not. This gets you into a whole lot of mental messes. You compare yourself to others, always competing and often losing in your own mind. Your perfectionism can create performance anxiety and cause you to worry about what others think. Worst of all, this ongoing current of self-judgment becomes a raging, energetic river that pushes your goals away. It's absolutely impossible to attract your real desires if you never allow yourself to be the real you. This card is telling you that you can and must shed this false condemnation of yourself, no matter how deep this pattern is. Your value comes from your eternal truth, not from others' input. So choose to relax and let the mask go. Open up to Spirit's light within and around you and be yourself. When you accept yourself as you are, no matter what anyone else thinks, you will feel completely liberated, perhaps for the first time in your life. Affirmation again. I choose to accept myself as I am. I deserve my own high reward. I deserve my own high regard. If you want to say it with me, I choose to accept myself as I am. I deserve my own high regard. And then we'll get into the final piece, which is about cycle and transformation. And a 5, which is the final one in the card. So interesting. This is significant transition. And there's even a bridge in behind. So this card shows a woman getting ready to cross a bridge and move into a new, light-filled adventure. In a rolled-up scroll, she carries all the wisdom she needs to move forward. This fortuitous card reveals a time of great inner and possibly outer transition. You are now at a place where you are capable of transforming your old life into something brand new. Unhealthy patterns of thought and behavior are now ready to shift into the much higher resonance of peaceful, non-judgmental energy. For some people, this is no less than the opportunity to reinvent themselves. As a result, this card is putting you on notice that you are a powerful manifester. Your inner changes now will reap phenomenal results in the near and distant future. So spend some time going inward, consciously choosing optimism, trust, and self-love. As you make these changes, you will see your outer life transform as well. Perhaps a new relationship or a bigger and better career move is on the horizon. Visualize these great outer results as you continue to work on your inner transition of consciousness and vibration. When you do, you will find this cycle moving on to one of great expansion. The affirmation: I am capable of great inner change. I transform my life by transforming my thoughts and perceptions. I am always free to choose. We'll read it again. I am capable of great inner change. I transform my life by transforming my thoughts and perceptions. I am always free to choose. You are stronger than you think. You have everything you need within you. And you also have far more suppressed emotions that need to move than what will serve you to. And so if you are willing to take a few moments to just take yourself on a journey inward, take a deep breath and settle yourself in. We'll just do a little 5-10 minute process. Feel yourself getting fully rooted and grounded. And as you breathe, drop your breath into the lower part of your belly and then scoop it up like an ice cream out of a bucket. And fill all the way and then breathe out. So then you're filling your whole lungs. So just breathe yourself into the moment. And as you exhale, put all of that which no longer serves into the wind that is leaving your body. And as it leaves, make a note of what it is that comes up, the emotions that are ready to be processed, that are ready to move. Log them like you have done with the other things this week. Continue just sitting into that, breathing and exhaling fully. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Breathing in goodness, breathing in compassion, breathing in support, breathing in strength. Exhaling resentment, anger, toxicity, rage, pessimism, boredom, whatever comes up. Just feeling yourself come back to the present moment. Creating a rabbit hole that you can enter anytime. And as you create that space in the moments when you're calm, because you've done something to pour into the well of you, this becomes like an inner rabbit hole, Maxwell Maltz describes in Psycho-Cybernetics, where you can actually go inward despite the chaos happening outside. You can go into this space that you are creating for yourself because you are that powerful, because you are a creator, because you are an artist who is creating the life that you get to lead. And leading that life is what matters here. It's no longer time to follow in anyone else's footsteps or to follow a well-blazed path, the trail that others said was success. What's the definition of success by the child within you? The inner artist, the creative part of you. Feel into that. Sit with that. And let yourself come back to the present moment where all your power exists. And know that your breath is the language of your soul. So anytime you feel alone, anytime you feel the anger, venom, rage, negativity festering and brewing within you, feel your lungs filling the bottom, pushing out your belly and then lifting up so that you can come back into the moment. For those emotions that are welling up in you were from not now moments you stored because you didn't know how to deal with them then, and that's okay. Now you are understanding how to breathe through them. And as you breathe through them and the stories come up, ask yourself questions that help you trace back that root emotion to the moment of its origin, however old you were back then. Recognize that part of you is still alive and well, active. And so love on that part of you. Love on that fearful part of you that just wanted to keep you safe. That didn't know whether you would survive if you actually achieved the dream that's on your heart. Recognize that they didn't know whether they could trust because of all the other times that you had suppressed the other parts of them that they were scared you were going to do to them too, and maybe you did. But that's okay. That's where you were then, and now you're in a different space. So just breathing yourself back into the present moment, recognizing everything is exactly as it needs to be. All is well. You are safe. And you're more powerful when you're present. All of those emotions just trying to distract you and call you into a not now moment are just guideposts reminding you where you used to give your power and now choose not to, because you choose to be present in this pre-sent moment where all your power exists. It's here for you. All of it. Everything is here to serve you. Nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening for you. The same is true for all of what's happening on a collective level that seems like insanity. If we can learn to breathe ourselves back into the present moment, that is when we are able to be the ripple in this world of peace, because we embody it. And when we embody it, others feel the presence of peace that they crave, that we all crave, and that we have become disconnected from, and yet now have a chance to reunite with. And your breath is the ticket home to your heart center, where you are connected to the presence of God within you, regardless of what box you put the Creator in. And by box, I do mean word. Our words and boxes can keep us feeling safely separate from one another, which then bring up all kinds of other emotions. And as that happens, you can move your body. You can just sway, creating an infinity sign, using your grounded part of you as the center point that you then just create the figure 8 around. Little things, the little things that make the biggest difference in life. So I hope you can bring the sense of peace with you into your day. I hope that you will join me next week to recover a sense of self-protection. And in the meantime, I hope you will be kind enough to use some of the techniques shared today in the journey that we took. And I thank you for joining in. Would love to hear what this experience has been for you. So please do comment below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you aren't already subscribed to my email series as well, ljeh.ca, then you would be welcome to sign up so I can send messages to help you feel like the peaceful inner warrior, united, I hope, that we can all become, so that we can truly bring together the best of us and also recognize that sometimes it is through the worst that we connect. So let that be enough. Any final thoughts that come, please do share, or keep them to yourself and use them, which is why they showed up for you. And with that, I bid you adieu. Have a great week, and we will see you again next Sunday. And if Tuesday you wanted to come for the Mystic Music Mad Hatter's Album 22 project meeting, where artists have submitted songs that will be going on a compilation CD, you'd be welcome to. And we will also be reading the next part on Thursday night at 7 o'clock of Saint Germain on Alchemy. So definitely join in on that reading if that is of interest. And know I send you huge love, that those who came before us came to be the light bearers that gave the example and remembrance of what we can do too. For all he was able to do, he said, we can do and more. And truly, when we believe in ourselves, when we trust ourselves, and when we are willing to unblock the creator within, magic happens. And I wish that for you. Have a good one, guys. Toodaloo.